Hello, and welcome to CIDDL Research and Practice Brief Series. The purpose of this series is to have conversations around the innovative use of technology in special education and leadership personnel preparation programs. Today, we have Dr. Samantha Goldman as our guest expert to share her research and practice on AI-supported writing and prompt engineering. Hi, Dr. Goldman.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And Dr. Goldman is an assistant research professor at the University of Kansas with an emphasis on the use of AI in writing assessment. She is a co-PI and project director of Project AI Score, a U.S. Department of Education OSEP-funded Stepping Up project. She was a special education teacher in various capacities in California across the grade span. Her research is focused on leveraging innovative technologies and evidence-based practices with high-quality instruction to empower teachers and students with disabilities and or struggling learners to improve writing outcomes. Welcome, Dr. Goldman.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. And just to start off, can you tell us a little bit about your research and how it is applied in your teacher preparation programs?
Yeah, so my research really looks at how we prepare teachers to teach students that struggle with writing how to write, particularly with the integration of technology into that. We know that writing is a really complex task and that technology can support a lot of barriers to writing, but there's a lack of preparation in teacher education to integrate technology into writing instruction. Right now, I know you mentioned AI score. So right now, my research is really looking at how AI supported feedback can improve writing outcomes for students with disabilities, as well as how that feedback can help teachers use data to drive their instruction, use those data to match student need to evidence-based practices and writing strategies, and really getting into how can AI support improving writing.
Yeah. Okay. And what are some of the challenges in writing instruction for students with disabilities that you were looking to aim to address in your work?
So overall, we know that students struggle to meet writing proficiency benchmarks.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've done a national writing assessment, but at the last one, it was about 27% of students without disabilities in eighth grade that were meeting writing proficiency benchmarks, and 5% with disabilities meeting those benchmarks. So overall, writing is a really, really challenging subject for all students, and it's also really difficult for teachers to teach um, because it takes time, because there's a lack of preparation. Um, it's very time consuming to provide that level of feedback. But writing is the primary way that students show what they know. And so if students don't have those foundational writing skills, then they're going to be at a significant disadvantage when it comes to writing that essay to explain the literary the themes of the book that they're reading, or to write that science report. So much of how we assess relies on quality writing,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to break apart that what is a challenge with writing and what is a challenge with understanding the content. Um, and so in teacher preparation, there's a lot of things that go on. We've got a lot of emphasis on reading, a lot on pedagogy, and there's so many pieces that go into it. Writing instruction is kind of tucked to the side. Sometimes it's embedded in reading courses, but a lot of the time teachers leave preparation programs with very little, if any, preparation for writing instruction, and
Yeah.
even less with instruction to integrate that technology. Um, and I think the underlying piece is that there's a connection between skills of being a good writer and the skills and competencies to use AI effectively. Writing is iterative and complex. Skills build off of each other, but you can also find ways to supplement and use technology to remove some barriers, because just because a student struggles to get their ideas out doesn't mean that they don't have a story to tell. And it doesn't mean that they don't comprehend the material. It just means that the way that they're being asked to show their learning is something that they struggle with in addition to that. And so we have to find ways to remove those barriers to effective written expression and written communication, while at the same time building in supports so that we can actually help improve those writing outcomes in those areas of need.
Yeah, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about I was a special education teacher. I taught self-contained for 5 years, and I just remember coming out of my teacher prep program, my first year teaching, and having to teach writing and struggling a lot. There was definitely like a gap in my learning on what can I use to help my students? And so, yeah, your work really resonated with me. And
Oftentimes, sorry,
no, go ahead.
oftentimes what happens is teachers learn one writing strategy and that's what they use. So for me, I learned the four square writing method and I was hooked. And I'm like, okay, I can use this. I know this, but it doesn't meet all writing areas. It doesn't meet all writing needs. But because teachers are so hungry for something to support writing, they latch on to whatever they can get. And so we really need to improve that capacity for teachers so we can improve their confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And that ties into my next question on can you walk us through how your work with prompt engineering specifically, those strategies, and how they support students with disabilities become stronger and more independent writers?
When AI first came out, I started thinking about the connection between writing and AI and what does it look like?
Yeah.
And a lot of the skills that you need to be a good writer are skills that you also need to be a good prompter. So if you think about writing a good prompt, you have to have really specific vocabulary and a wide knowledge of vocabulary. You have to be able to be organized both in your prompting and in your writing. You have to understand that it's an iterative process. It's not a one and done. Um, and so those three things are central to both writing and prompting. Um, AI can be used to support writing in a lot of ways if you can write a good prompt, right? And so it can help with brainstorming, it can help with outlining, it can really help with that blank page effect where you have all the ideas, you understand everything, and then you're given the paper to write and everything is gone. All of a sudden, you can't remember anything. So AI can really support in those areas. It can also help to refine, expand, and clarify both the background knowledge, so what you're writing about, as well as um, the student's actual sentence, right? If they can get the idea in, but maybe it's a run-on sentence or it's repetitive or there's a word missing, AI can help with that. It also can give that immediate, specific, and actionable feedback that we know is necessary to improve writing outcomes, but is often absent from a lot of classrooms. A lot of the supports that we can use to improve writing can also be used for prompting. So if we look at graphic organizers, which we know are effective at helping students organize their writing, um, we can use the same framework or the same idea of a graphic organizer to help students organize their prompts. So giving them a prompt framework as a fill in the blank so that they know what goes where,
Yeah.
as well as we can use sentence frames and word banks, both skills that we use in writing and that can support in prompt engineering. But I think that what's really interesting about the connection is the augmentation of what can we do now that we couldn't do before.
Hmm.
And so, first of all, there's that access to immediate support, right? If I need help with my writing, if I need feedback, if I need advice, if I need guidance, I have one teacher and 30-ish students,
Hmm.
or I'm at home and there's nobody at home to help me. Well, now I have access to the support 24/7. There's also the ability to get students to think about the topic a little differently and provide different supports. So, for example, one of my favorite things to talk about is how you can use image generators to help students use more descriptive language in their writing. So, if the sentence is just the dog sat and you type that in and have it generate an image, well, then you can get the student talking more about the dog. Is the dog on the screen the dog you saw in your head? Oh, what do we need to change? And working through that iterative process and having that picture there, and at the very end, having the AI help the student write the sentence with all the words that they included. You go from the dog sat to the fluffy white dog with black spots
Yeah.
sat on the grass in a sunny day. So the ability to really shift what writing is and how we support writing with AI is really exciting. Um, but it's also thinking about what do students need to know how to do with AI and writing and how they connect? So, for example, when students go out into the world, if cover letters are still a thing, we know that cover letters, students or people that submit cover letters and resumes with mechanical errors that don't read well, they're less likely to get a job interview. And if they do, they're less likely to get paid as well. So if we have a student who is trained who knows how to use AI to support their writing, they know how to take their ideas and use AI to keep their own voice, but improve what they're saying and make it more readable, that student's going to be much more successful than a student that never learned how to use AI and just turns in or just submits their own writing without any refinements, without having anybody edit and proofread. Or even worse is that student that says, well, I never learned how to use AI, but it's there. So I'm just going to go and say, type my cover letter and submit that.
Yeah.
We really want to focus on improving and teaching those AI literacy skills and how to use the tool effectively so that we can really enhance the opportunities for our students. As well as prompt engineering and effective use of AI can really increase independence. With AI Score, we have an embedded chatbot. Its name is Oscar, on-screen composition assistant for writing. And one of Oscar's role is to really help students increase their independence and reduce their dependency on teachers. Not that the teacher is walking away from the situation, but a lot of times students have questions that maybe they don't want to ask their teacher, or maybe they need more feedback than their teacher can give them at that moment. They need reassurance. Having that embedded chatbot really helps students learn, what do I need help with? What can my teacher help me with? And what do I need just that like support with? And teaching students how to leverage the supports of the AI so that they're still the one doing the writing. With Oscar, it won't write for them. So it's a training wheel of learning what supports are good for the AI to give me and what do I still need to bring to the table? Because we still want our students or the human to be, the lead character or the star or the superhero in their story, and the AI, the supporting character or the sidekick. And how do we help students look at AI that way?
Yeah, yeah. You had mentioned about AI literacy and using AI responsibly. And that was going to be my next question is how can we better prepare educators to use these technologies responsibly and effectively in the field?
Yeah. So I think what is exciting is that as a whole, the research is showing that programs are moving away from that basic technology course that's isolated and more looking at an integration of technology and content. So really bringing in that TPAC framework, that idea of technology, pedagogy, and content are so intertwined, which means that the confidence level of teachers and the understanding of how to integrate them is hopefully going to become better.
Mm,
But that still means that as teacher educators, we have to explicitly connect those tools to the pedagogical and content knowledge. We can't just expect that those connections are going to be made.
yeah.
And we have to teach our pre-service teachers not only how to use the tool and how to integrate it into their instruction or into their workflow, but we also have to teach them how to teach it to students. Because using a tool and knowing how to teach a tool is really, really different.
Different. Yeah.
Which brings me to my next point, which is the ability to both get that direct and explicit instruction, to be told how to use the tool, to be given the opportunity to practice using the tool, both as the student themselves. So what does it look like to use Magic School as a student, or to use AI Score as a student, or to use Brisk as a student, versus the opportunity to role play or model what it would look like to teach those skills. So having the pairs or groups of students practice teaching the integration, teaching how they would leverage those tools in their classrooms. That low stakes practice is so important. And then providing the opportunity for them to actually participate in case studies. So
Mm,
here's your fake student. Here's their data. Let's analyze the data, identify what areas are needed that they need improvement in. And then how do we use those data to drive our instruction? And what tools can we use to support that instruction, to remove those barriers, and to help students reach the curricular goals? And then finally, we have to make it real, right? Doing everything in a silo of a teacher preparation course doesn't necessarily bring in all the aspects of a classroom with real students. So giving them the opportunity to practice what they learned in that real environment can help them increase their capacity. And then we also have to address the teacher attitudes and self-efficacy toward that tech adoption. As far as the responsible use piece, I think that's also needing to be embedded in multiple courses. Just like with our K-12 kiddos, we can't expect a one and done with AI literacy. It's constantly changing what AI is and what it can do. And so we have to constantly be talking about those skills of responsible use, of ethical use. What does it mean to be the human in the loop, right? What does it mean to be a critical consumer of technology and of AI tools? And I think finding a way to teach teachers about that healthy balance between their brain and the AI use is critical, as well as how do we anchor tools like AI into evidence-based practices, writing strategies, et cetera, so that we're really not just having a shiny object tool, but we're applying that tool to actually improve outcomes for teachers and students. It's understanding what makes a good AI tool for teachers and students more so than, oh, here's this cool tool I just found. I'm going to just use it.
Mm. Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much, Dr. Goldman, for sharing your research. And we really appreciate your time and your work. We hope to continue this conversation in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and just for more information about CIDDL research and practice briefs and other resources for teacher education and related services personnel preparation, please visit CIDDL.org. And don't forget to follow us on social media, subscribe to our channel, and leave us a message. Thank you for joining us.